Hello and welcome to another fabulous day of art. All right, today is another preschool video for my preschool friends. Welcome back to the art room, friends. All right, as I talked about in the last video, we are currently right now in peak what I like to call spooky season. Right, we're in peak spooky season right now, so we're in October. All right, and in October, you see a lot of what? Pumpkins around, all right? So this is another one of my awesome, my favorite preschool projects that I do in October. Last class, what I did was I showed you how to draw a pumpkin patch. Today is a project that I do with my preschoolers that's good for hand-eye coordination, all right? And it has to do with pumpkins, so I usually start by reading them a book about pumpkins, and we kind of sit on the carpet and I read them a book and talk to them about pumpkins, and I usually pass around a little pumpkin for them to kind of feel the bumpiness of the pumpkin, all right? But we always like to make little pumpkin masks for ourselves. This is a really fun project, and it's a really cute photo opportunity. And like I said, it accomplishes those skills of being able to get them to use their hands and really get that hand-eye coordination, and coloring in the orange and getting everything stuck down there. So it's good for them. It's great to accomplish what we need to do for art. It's very cute, and it provides a very sweet photo opportunity for parents. So I highly recommend this as one of your art projects that you choose to do. You're going to need a few supplies for this, okay? So normally what I provide, I usually provide all of this stuff for them, but you're going to need paper plates, right? You're going to need a pipe cleaner if you got one. You can always kind of, we're kind of used to adjusting with what you got, right? So if you don't have a pipe cleaner for this, I'm sure you can find something else that you're like, oh, well, that'll work for my little vine coming off of there. You're going to need just a little bit of green paper. And you're going to need a little bit of brown paper as well, and that would be for that stem and leaf. You're also going to need something orange to color in with, so I usually give them markers, but whatever you've got to use is fine. Crayons, colored pencils, gel pens, paint, use what you got, but you're going to need something orangey to kind of color in that round space on the plate to make that orange, right? What normally happens is, like I said, they come into my classroom, we sit on the carpet, I read them a book. I have already, prior to this lesson, cut out a circle out of this paper plate for them, so that's already done for them because it's still the early on part of the year, and they're not quite ready to be cutting out from the center of a plate quite yet with their scissors. They're still working on those skills, but not quite yet. So this is what I do. I'll show you what I do. Normally, I take a paper plate, fold it in half. I cut a little snip in the middle, right? Cut a little snip in the middle. I open it back up. That's that little entry point that I can just kind of cut through here and cut out that middle part of the plate because we don't need that. That's where our face is going to go through the little pumpkin mask, so we don't need that part. So I go around and I cut that out for each student. I do that prior to the lesson, so they come in and it's already done. All right. You can just toss this. You don't need it anymore. All right. So that goes in the bin. But now you've got that little cutout mask part that you can use. I usually also, before they get in there, I try to have, for instance, something like this. I try to have on the green square, I try to already have a shape drawn out for them. So usually, and like I said, for this project, it's a heart. So they are still going to get to practice using scissors, but it's not as something as intense as trying to cut out the middle of this. It'll be something that's more in line with where they're at developmentally right now. So where they're at developmentally right now is I'm showing them, okay, you got to drive the car, which is your scissors, on the black line and try to cut that out. So normally they'll see this, and then that's the part that they snip, snip, cut out. Hopefully you have some safety scissors at home, like some smaller little kid scissors. These are just the ones that I've been using here for me because I am an adult. But if you can, please invest in some, and you can get these for like $1 at the Dollar Tree. I like to get those there because those ones work. The little scissors, for kids. So get some of those. Remind your preschooler, because remember, this is something we're still working on with preschool age kids, and that's normal. We're just trying to get them in the habit before they go to kindergarten of using the scissors by putting your thumb through the top, fingers through the bottom. Okay, so my thumb is on top, fingers are through the bottom, and I'm opening and closing my scissors with one hand. A lot of times you'll see kids kind of try to hedge clipper it that's not good, right? Not safe, all right? We don't want that. We want thumb through the top, fingers through the bottom. You'll also see them try to flip it, and that's actually going to be very frustrating for them because it won't cut right. It will be very hard to drive the car. So try to keep it so your thumb is on top, fingers are through the bottom. Right? What I usually do is a method called hand over hand, and this is what hand over hand is. Hand over hand is when I see a student who's still kind of trying to learn how the scissors work. Maybe they're still struggling to maybe they're flipping their hand a lot, or they're trying to hedge clipper it, and they need just a little assistance. I'll show them, again, thumb through the top, fingers to the bottom, and then I might guide their hand, so I might actually put my hand on top of theirs and help them kind of snip, snip, snip to get started with. The more you do that, the better their brain is like, okay, my hand needs to do this motion to get that to work. So it's one of those things where it's very important that the student is still, like, don't do it for them, do it with them. So the student should still have their thumb and fingers through the scissors. You're just kind of guiding and helping kind of keep everything on track, right? So just kind of hand over hand as you see that they need it, but the more they've got it, once they're like going and they're already doing it, you can kind of let go and be like, you're driving the car by yourself now, my friend, good job. All right, so they're gonna go ahead on that black line, snip, snip, stay on that black line as much as you can. And I always tell my students, it's okay, it's totally normal, and it's fine if your car goes off the road a little bit as far as our scissors are concerned. That happens sometimes. Just take your scissors and point them back on the black line and keep going. Mistakes happen. It's not the end of the world. We got this. So stay on that black line as best as you can. Cut out that nice little green heart. This little green heart is going to turn into that beautiful little leaf. Beautiful. All right, next, I usually have, just for the sake of time with them, usually I already have a little square cut out for them for their stem, that little brown stem part, right? But that's up to you. If you want to do the same thing where you draw a square on a brown piece of paper and have them practice with the scissors again, that's totally fine. It really is up to you. Like I said, in school, normally the way things are set up, we just have a little bit of a timetable that we got to kind of work in. So usually I just have them cut out the one thing, but it's up to you what you want to do with that. Or perhaps if you're trying to adjust the lesson and you're like, oh, maybe my preschooler isn't quite ready for cutting out a heart yet, maybe you can switch it up and draw on a brown piece of paper a square and just have them cut out that instead. So it's really up to you and up to what you know what is best for your preschooler. So choosing that is an idea. I usually have already I snip pipe cleaners into little bits for them, so like I can get like 3 kids vines worth out of like this one long pipe cleaner, but I give them a little bit of pipe cleaner and then kind of show them swirl it, twirl it around their finger, boop, swirl it, twirl it around their finger, and then take it off, and that's going to be that little vine piece that's kind of coming off here. You see I have different color greens, it's fine. All right, but that's going to be that little vine part that kind of comes out from behind the leaf. Okay, so this is the really fun part. Students are going to sit there with their paper plate, and they need to turn this into an orange plate, okay? So I'm not going to make you watch me color this whole thing in right now, but I'm going to skip to that so that you can see it quickly. But basically having them color in the whole outside of this paper plate orange, okay? Go ahead and do that. And voila, once I have finished, so let them color in the whole outside of that plate, and they just need to do one side. Color the whole outside of that plate orange for you. Your table is probably going to get a little bit of orange on it, or wherever you're choosing to let them work. That's fine. I usually use, you can use water and soap to clean it off, and these are, for me, this is washable markers, so that'll come off pretty easily. I tend to get, I always have a little stockpile of Mr. Clean Magic erasers. I just kind of clean up the table with there, but that's okay. I always tell my students I'd rather them have a beautiful work of art and maybe there's a little bit of markings on the table than anything for me personally in my art room, because that can be clean, but I want their art to be exactly what they want it to be, right? So they're going to finish coloring that in orange. All right, next we have to add all this. We have to attach all this together. Now, here comes the tricky part. Normally in my art room, I can give them access to the bottle glue, which is what we usually use to kind of put all this down. And then I usually reinforce, just because this one kind of comes off a little bit, I reinforce it by coming around later and with a stapler and just stapling the vine down for extra insurance. I let the kids stick it on with glue, but then I kind of extra ensure that it stays on by adding that staple to it to kind of keep it in there. But that's really up to you. It's whatever you have on hand, right? That's the theme of the art room this year, is whatever you've got, right? So if you've got a glue stick, use a glue stick. If you've got bottle glue, use that. If you've got a stapler, you can put all this together with a stapler. I wouldn't give my stapler to one of our preschool friends quite yet. I don't think they're ready to do that. That's up to you, really, but I wouldn't do that quite yet. So if you're going to use a stapler, just put that together for them. But go ahead and start attaching. I'm going to start by putting my stem on first, so I'm going to use that glue. And this is one of those lessons where I start teaching the students. We use in our art room, we use the method called dot, dot, not a lot. The kids love saying it. So I will always start going dot, dot, and then the class responds with not a lot, all right? We don't need a ton of glue to make this work, right? So I just need to take the glue and do a couple of dots. Dot, dot, not a lot, right? I just need a couple dots, and then I stick that down onto my paper plate. I usually try to stick it to the back of the paper plate, but you can stick it on the front too, same thing. But I like to stick it on the back of the paper plate so it's kind of sticking up out of the orange, right? And that's how I start teaching them dot, dot, not a lot. Dot, dot, a couple dots of glue will do you. You don't need a whole bunch of it. Just dot, dot, not a lot. Dot, dot, not a lot. And I stick that down. Yeah. Now, on some projects, you will need a lot of glue, but this is not one of these. This is one of the ones that you really don't need a ton. So this is one of our dot, dot, not a lot projects here, right? Then you go ahead and put a little dot of glue on your pipe cleaner. For me, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and staple it down to keep it there. But go ahead and staple that. I've got my leaf glued down onto the orange, yes. And then I take this little vine right here, and I'm going to go ahead and staple it down so it stays right there onto my stuff. So I'm going to keep it right there. Perfect. All right, and I have just created my own pumpkin mask. And after, I really love this part, after we all finish making this together, we usually get the class together to take a photo together where they all kind of stand there with their little pumpkin masks. And we take a little photo. So I hope you enjoyed our art project today. Like I said, substitute whatever you need to substitute to make this work. If you didn't have brown construction paper or green construction paper, you can always just take white paper, and you might have brown markers or brown or green markers or brown crayons and green crayons. They can color it in to make that. So you can substitute a lot of things to make this work. But I hope you enjoyed our project today, and I will see you guys next time.